Hi,
Good evening. How you doing?
good. How are you?
Hanging in there, doing great. You're out on the West Coast?
Yes.
Very good. How is it out in LA?
Good, good, good. Yeah, it's good. Sorry, I just have my second vaccine shot, and I'm feeling a little a little weak, but
If you have to drop out at any time, at least we'll have something then. I know that the show always goes on. I have my second coming up in about a week, and
okay.
I was a little sore on the first one.
Very sore, and this time in Coco and I, so Coco had it like the day before I did, and she was feeling sick, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm gonna feel sick, and sure enough, I feel a little clammy, but it's okay. It'll be fine tomorrow. It's done.
Yeah, they say as you get into that second day that you're really gonna feel things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's you take it easy and doing the right thing, and that's the whole point of we just want to get better and be able to play live again.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
doing all these Zoom calls and performances online and going through PayPal, please pay me.
Yes.
I know how that goes. So other than that, have you been doing a lot of recording lately as you've been in lockdown and just going forward? You have a great new single that's out. Tell us all about that.
Yeah. So during the lockdown, well, I wanted to keep Coco Corley's the drummer busy, right? Because we were supposed to go on tour, and it was all canceled. So I started writing songs, and then we were just rehearsing online via Zoom, and then we just met up with our producer Jason Orm. We just met up for a weekend, and we recorded all the new songs that are we are now releasing. So yes, you just talked about Illusion of Freedom. That's the third single that we released since 2021, and little by little we're going into releasing the whole album. So September should be the day of the release of the whole album.
Yeah, that's the way it's really goes these days, especially being thoroughly digital online, is to just release a single, really let it absorb and soak, and that's the way you build that audience, and then finally you can collect it as your EP or LP.
Yes, yes, and it's been good. We were really like wondering because before those new songs we were really into punk rock. I mean, we're still into punk rock, don't get me wrong,
Oh yeah.
but we were just trying something different, something new, and we're very happy to see that people are enjoying it, so that's good.
It's
So
really high energy, Illusion of Freedom. What's the backstory behind that song and how that came about?
well, Coco and I are both immigrants here, right? We're from
Right.
France, and so it's a little bit of our personal story, in a way, just because when you realize the importance of a piece of paper, and that determines like what's what's gonna happen to you, really, what
Yeah.
I think that's very that's big, and again, we don't choose where we are born, and sometimes you're lucky enough to be in a developed country, sometimes you're not, but it doesn't mean that you don't have big dreams, and that you want to accomplish, and I think that everyone deserves a chance to whatever they dream about, they dream of, uh,
Right.
and um, and I've so what I'm talking about in this song is that I had coworkers, for instance, that also have big dreams, or where they're from they had bigger careers, but then is in a situation here where their diplomas are not the same, or it's not in the same translated in the same language, they have to start over, and that can be behind in the kitchen or whatever, and the thing is, people treat you for how they see you in that moment, but they have no idea who, no one knows really. And I was waitressing for a long time, and people, look down on me just for being a waitress, but no one knows anybody's story, you
Right.
know. And that song is kind of like, like, hey, just give a chance to everyone, because you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah. Especially in this day and age, just with as much awareness as we have with immigration here in the States, and I know probably overseas too, it can be pretty harsh when people want to first come to a land of hope and promise, and they just are met with so much resistance from a great quarter of society. It's really tough. It's really tough. And you could feel that energy in the track. It's just, which you have in all your tracks. It's all incredibly energetic stuff. But especially in this, and the timing of it too.
Wow.
What's really amazing is, and you're really into videos, and the video for this is really cool too. I mean, if you haven't checked it out, people, I mean, you go on YouTube and it's just like, wow, I love that. How did the video come about?
Well, because we were in the pandemic, we couldn't really travel anywhere, and we didn't really have like much budget. All the studios were closed and everything, so we needed just a very small team. So Maria is our videographer, and we were just going back and forth. And I said, hey, look, I know this girl. She's badass. She does roping. I'm a vegetarian, so it's not really my thing, roping, but like those little
Wow.
cows. But I just think like just the idea of like, as a French person, like the cowboy cowgirl thing is super cool. And so she's just an 18-year-old like rodeo girl, and I'm like, we've got to use this somehow. That's gonna be different. So we went to Oklahoma, and yeah, she was up for it. She was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And yeah, we just did something simple but fun and different, I think.
Yeah, it's really eye-catching, and I think the importance of getting it out as a video can really get people turned on to your music. And I think you have such a good pattern now as a duo. You both are, you have, seems like you have acting chops. I say this to a lot of musicians, like, you seem like you have acting. They're like, no, I don't want to act. And it's like, I watch these videos and it's like you have such a character down, and it's really, really beautiful that
Yeah. I agree with the other people who said they don't have acting skills, because I don't.
way.
But as long as it looks good, that's great. It was fun because this time Coco was doing most of the acting. I was just driving, so I was like, yes, cool.
Very neat. Director Junbei Zhao.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
what was it like working with Junbei?
so we actually know her through Maria. She's been on all of our videos since Nam Killer as a gaffer. She does lights, and she's amazing. And I didn't know that she actually likes directing and she wants to be a director. It's just that, like they're for the jobs, I guess she's always hired as a light person. And I was like, well, let's just give her a chance, and see what she has to, offer. And so it was fun. She really enjoyed directing, and it was fun to work with her. And I like her ideas, and working with Maria, like, um, I just trust her. And
No.
she has a vision. And then I knew that Jumbai, like anything that she does with lights, is just like together they're just like an amazing team. And I was curious to see how it was going to be with directing, and she pulled it off, and it was fun. So hopefully, she gets a little bit out of it, and more jobs as a director.
Yeah, really, really works well. So 64 women. What is the story behind calling the EP 64 Women? You have quite a story there about being detained.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So So I was actually coming back to the U.S. and the officer that I guess questioned me thought that I had overstayed my visa for one extra day. But if anyone knows how this works, like you just never really argue because you're at a loss. So
As we
I
see here a lot. Yeah.
yeah, so I couldn't prove that that did not happen, and so they basically just put me in jail for one night, and I was in this immigration jail with 64 women, and I talked to a few of them, and yeah, they told me about their stories a little bit and who, like, where they were from, why they were in there, and different stories. And at first, I wanted to write a song about them, but then I thought, no, I'm just going to dedicate this whole EP. And then I had a friend who paints, and I was like, I just want women, all ages, all ethnicities, and that's going to be for them.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, when did you first come to the States? Did you grow up outside of Paris or in Paris proper?
No, I was born and raised in Paris, and then when I was 10, I started coming every summer vacation to the States in different states, and then when I was 15, I did an exchange student program, and I was in Kentucky for a year and a half as an
Huh.
yeah going to high school. And then as soon as I turned 21, I said, I'm out of here, and I moved to Los Angeles. And I've been here ever since, since 2006.
Great. So, did you learn French and English growing up? Or just had French for so long and then just finally got English, when you were a child?
I it's kind of funny because I don't remember. Uh, I just remember starting English at a young age, and I know that my English teacher told my mom, like, she's good. She has to keep learning English. But yeah, I never really thought about it. I don't remember. I don't I The only thing I remember was my first day in Kentucky. My host sister brought her boyfriend, and he has the thickest southern accent, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And then they just were staring at me, and I was shy, and I was just like, I just don't know what you're saying. And like, I don't know. But then I got used to it, and I guess parking is part of my vocabulary now, and y'all and stuff like that. But yeah, that's it. And I love country music.
Yeah. So, what were your earliest inspirations getting into music and learning to sing and play? Did that all start in France or just kind of when you came here to the US?
Uh, so I think that part of me knowing English is because of listening to American bands mostly, um, or Canadian, Alanis Morissette. Um,
Yeah.
so I started listening to Alanis Morissette, and I think that she was a big inspiration for sure. Um,
Wow.
but I started playing the drums when I was 14, and then the bass. And I was just in bands. And then when I was in Kentucky and I didn't have bands anymore and anything like that, I was like, well, I'm just going to write my own songs. And that's when I started teaching myself the guitar.
Yeah, Alanis Morissette was very big in the mid 90s. And I remember I was visiting Quebec and I was like, I haven't heard anything like this before. That was just really interesting. And it was like, but they played her constantly, no matter what city I was driving through. It's like she was like really exploding at that time. So now comes full circle. You really followed her and everything, and you have her guitarist. How were
Yeah,
you able to steal her guitarist in a way and get him to produce for you? James Orme, is that how you say his name?
Jason Orm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he still plays for her, and it's kind of funny because so we met, I mean, over 20 years ago now, I think. I think it was like 2002 or 3 that we first met, and he was always nice to me. I met him after the shows, and I gave him like little cassette tapes of Oh gosh, I hope he doesn't have them because I would feel so embarrassed to hear any of it. We kept in touch, and then when he came to friends, I would see him like after shows or whatever. And then I saw him when I moved to LA. He was playing in other bands, and I saw him in his other bands too. And then one day I just said, "Hey, do you want to listen to what I do now?" And then we started working together, and we started recording together with Half Meter Child Syndrome, and then we did 64 Women, and now this one. And he gets more and more into it, I think, and now he's almost like part of the band in a way as a producer. He really like it's cool because now not only he shares about us on his social media, but also um, like we were just releasing Illusion of Freedom, and he was like, "Hey, I hear this. Like, we need to fix this." Like, he really is part of it now, so it's cool.
That's neat. I mean, people like that who are such veterans of the music business just have this ear and this knack for making songs way better and layering and just figuring out how to produce things. That's a serious gift. You're very lucky to have them on board.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he even realizes how good he is. He's so
Yeah.
down to earth and so good. Like, he comes up with the best like guitar lead like ideas and stuff like that. We work really well together when it comes to like arranging songs and like, oh, I hear this, I hear that. Very easy to work with. So I I, I hope he gets a lot more job as a producer because he's really really talented.
And you really showed up everybody by taking up the drums because I know that's tough for females to get involved, but they're some of the best drummers. I mean, my gosh. I mean, the first female drummer I remember seeing was from the Go-Go's. I was like, wow, they of course they could. I mean, they're better. I mean, and that's fantastic. What was it like dealing with that stereotype with people saying, "Oh no, that's a guy's instrument"?
Oh man, so it's so funny because Coco doesn't have that experience at all, and I don't know if it's because we're like 10 years apart, and I don't know if people got um, more open-minded at the idea of having a girl drummer, or if she just doesn't have that vibe that I do. I don't know, but
Yeah.
from the time I started, like I've had like just guys like looking at me like, no, you should be doing something else, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna fucking show you. You know what I mean? And the more people tell me no, the more I want to do it. You know? So um, yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. She's only had that experience once in Pittsburgh where she had someone say like, "Do you even know how to play the drums?" And the thing is, Coco is she's a smart girl, and she's she's not gonna tell you anything. She's just gonna do her thing, and then you're just gonna oh. And that's exactly what happened. Like, she doesn't need to show off. She knows better. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Which is
totally.
cool.
It makes you stronger and totally successful. That's really what happens. So the name Tarah Who, what is the origin of that? How did that all start?
Oh well, there's a short version and a long version, so I don't know how much time we have, but the short version is that it was an email because like at the time that I started like doing this whole band thing, we had a bunch of gigs lined up with, but we didn't have a band name, and the subject of that email was Tarah Who, and then I had a list of names, and they were all horrible. And my bandmates at the time were like, "Let's just go with the subject, and we'll change it later." And we just never did change it. So that's the short version. The longest version is that Tara is not my actual birth name. I'm into Buddhism, and then the Tara is the goddess in Buddhism for compassion. And if you look into it, you'll get into it. But
Yeah.
so that's why the Tarah Who, because my friends were like, Tarah Who? Who's Tara? And that was the whole joke around it. So we're like, oh well, that's what it is going to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's very eye-catching. At first, you're like doing it, you always do a double take. So if you're getting people to do a double take, You're definitely getting some listeners that way too, I would think. Totally.
Right.
So it was like just getting into your first it was a self-titled EP. What was that like songwriting and getting that one together?
Well, that one actually was a little difficult because I was supposed to record with a couple friends who did not, kind of like let me down, to be honest. So then I had this studio session booked, and I had to come up with all the instruments
Mm.
during that time. So that's why it's not perfect, but it was definitely, um, like the show must go on. Okay, fine. Like fuck you guys. I'm just gonna still do it. So I did, and in a way I was proud because I didn't let that stop me from doing it. But then on the other side, it's like it's a bummer, but it's the story now.
Yeah. And as far as going around and playing live your tracks and touring, have you just been throughout the States? Do you go overseas as well, throughout Europe and anywhere else you've been?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, yeah. We go everywhere we can. We love going to the UK because we have because people in the UK, they don't mind mosh pitting and
Yeah.
getting dirty and like what I love about the UK is that it's not because they're going to come out for maybe for the pints, maybe for the but they're gonna come out to watch a show whether they know your name or not, and that makes a big difference. You know what I mean? And
Oh, they love that. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
like rock is definitely still alive in the UK, and I love that about the UK.
Yeah, I really think the Sex Pistols really just like broke that ceiling and really developed that genre, which is obviously seems very inspirational to you. And yeah, I'm sure you probably feel that all the time over there.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. You're right. It's definitely still there. All that vibe, that rock and roll punk vibe is still there, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, growing up, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I remember in the late 70s, early 80s, that was getting really big. And then things got a bit more mainstreamed as the police took a lot of that and infused that, and that took off in the 80s. And punk was just always then from that point in the background. But there's always been such an appreciation for that. And
Yeah,
I think you're definitely tapping into that as a duo. It's and updating it too. It sounds really fresh. I mean, a lot of your tracks do. Especially this track called Manners. How did that one how did you come up with Manners?
that was kind of difficult because I wanted to talk about my mom's experience as so my mom was abandoned and she was raised by nuns, so she
Wow.
has all of those. She's very polite. She has all of those manners, and but when it comes to like being affectionate and all that, she didn't have that because she didn't have her parents or people who really took care of her like that. And that's what I wanted to talk about. But I also wrote this song during Black Lives Matter, like it's still happening, but during well, when George Floyd unfortunately passed. So um it was kind of like also a reminder, like again, it's really difficult to talk about religion and all that, and it's not against religion, but it was to make a point that you like just put the book away, put the institution away, just love each other, love one another, like no one is born a racist. So something happened, you know, and if you can find it in your heart, to help each other and love one another, like just open your eyes and your heart, so that's what manners is about, like open your eyes, open your heart. That's all, no more hate.
Yeah, a lot of that. It's always been there, and you've probably seen that even overseas in Europe in its own way. But here, it's really come out in the open the last 5, 6 years. It's nothing new, but it's very shocking at the same time to see it out in the public eye. and seeing these things play out in court and in our society. So I think that that really taps into it. The song is really interesting. You had Jason on this song as well, and he was using a harmonium. That's a reed organ. That's really an interesting. So how did he come up with that? It's just one of his bag of tricks. Like, what an extra nice
Yes.
layer of that.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. Like towards the end, we just had like maybe an hour left of studio, and he's like, "Do you know what a harmonium is?" I'm like, "No, but it sounds fun." He's like, and then he did go into his bag of tricks. So he was like, "Well, we
Yeah.
were on this tour with Alanis, and we were in India, and we just wanted to check all of those instruments, you know, that were really local." And then he just got out a few like instruments that he had bought on that Indian uh, tour or show or whatever. And of course, like I'm all in for like weird stuff, and he knows that. So he's like, "Ooh," and he tries that, and he actually even like YouTubed it for a second. How do you play that? Okay, cool. And then he found the notes, and then he just added that to the song. So we have fun like that. And then I wanted to have like a Gregorian style like choir, so that's why like during the guild, you know. So we were both like doing backing vocals, but that was really funny because he had to go really high and he can't sing that high. So we had some really fun moments doing this.
Sounds challenging trying to get him to go up to
Yeah,
these octaves. You can't like, oh my God, I can't do this.
yeah, I was laughing.
What's your songwriting process like when you're doing something like Manners and coming up with these really really interesting lyrics? And when does the inspiration hit you? Do you like are in your Droid or iPhone in the middle of the night say, oh my God, this just came to me, or I just gotta scribble this thing down here? How does that work for you as far as getting your inspiration to write lyrics?
Well, it's exactly what you just said. I don't like to do it on my phone unless it's absolutely necessary. I like to feel the my hand cramping almost, you know.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
very old school
Yeah.
to that, but I always actually carry like a pen and a piece of paper. Sometimes I just have like a piece of paper in my back pocket, and it's nothing, but it's just that in case I need to. The worst part is when I need to do it when I'm driving, because then I'm like this, you know.
You-
But a lot of yeah, but a lot of it is like, especially when I was in France, it was like on a subway ride, you know, like I'll have something and I finally have a minute to myself, and it's just a burst of emotions really, and it's almost like a big cloud, and then I just spill my guts, you know, on a piece of paper basically. And I hear the music already. It's kind of weird, but I already hear how it all goes together. And then my thing is I always timestamp it. I know when, and like everything. And then I just let it go. And then when I feel like it, it's all about feelings. Like I never push anything. When I feel like it, I come back to it. And then to me is it's if I remember what I've done, it's meant to be. If I don't remember, then it was not meant to be. And then I just move on to the next thing. So um yeah, that's pretty much it.
it's
And then
really
and then I
interesting to hear that. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And then I make a demo, and then I send that to Coco. And then that's really just for her to know the feeling and the groove and everything. It's because I never went to music school, so I can't tell her, you know, anything, but she hears it. And then obviously she can put her own stuff too, or I tell her like, okay, here I did this, but what I really want to do is like, you know, whatever. And she has better technique than I do. So then she does it, and then when we go into the studio with Jason, sometimes he's like, okay, guys, this is a little too busy here, or this is this, or I hear this. And then we discuss it. And then it's the three of us, really.
So how did you meet Coco? How far back does the duo go as far as when you've met? Also from France as well.
So we met online actually because we were friends through Facebook. Well, when she was still in France and I was in the US, I think it was because I, we must have friends in common being drummers. And then when she moved to LA to go to Musicians Institute, and she emailed me to see if I could help her out, like finding like where she could stay, and about Los Angeles and stuff. And that was it. And then a few months later, um, well, I needed a new drummer, so I hit her up. I was like, "Hey, do you want to come out to a show?" And then after the show, I was like, "So, do you like what you hear?" She's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Well, do you want to audition?" And she was like, "Sure." So I auditioned a few drummers. She was one of them, and she was very shy in the beginning. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna need to break her because, like,
Yeah,
and then
yeah, communicator.
yeah, and then she got more and more comfortable. She started playing louder and all that, and now we're inseparable.
Yeah, you could tell in the videos, and especially the video for Manners. That's a really interesting video too, done in downtown LA. What was it like shooting the video for Manners?
It was nice. It was during the pandemic. It was during, that one was actually during the elections.
Right,
So
right, right.
was almost, we were afraid that riots were gonna happen or whatever, because that's what they were saying, depending on of who wins and whatever. So we were shooting as much as we could, and every time we had a second, we were just looking at the results,
We were all on edge everywhere, that's for sure.
Yeah. But no, it was really fun, and was it was safe. It was a beautiful day in Los Angeles, as it always is.
Yeah, it's got a great look to it. The video for Manners is mainly shot in Super 8 millimeter film, which what is what I grew up on, and it does have that unique quality to it.
Beautiful,
It
so
really
beautiful.
does. It's so fascinating. Super 8 millimeter film, you're really limited because you buy them by the cartridge. So you're limited to about 3.5 minutes per cartridge.
Yeah,
And back then, I mean, this is all we had. We did this was before video cameras, so everybody was able to get them developed, and you didn't know what you were going to get back. But there was a mystery in that too. I really love that.
yeah, yeah.
Really miss that. It's got a great look to it, and the way that it was conformed to video, and it just has that really unique quality to it. And a very rough quality. It's funny because I was doing Super 8 films as a kid and a teenager, we tried very hard to get really good professional images out of it. Nowadays, it's like you use that to get that grungier look.
Yeah, yeah.
Funny how that comes full circle. So the director Lena Baez, how did you get together with Lena and developing this idea, and why you decided to go with Super 8?
So Super 8 was Maria's idea. So what I like about so Maria and I now are really good friends, and basically when I record a song, I have a vision of it's kind of like the way that I'm writing, how it's like it just comes. It's like one day I'll be listening to the song, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, I know what we're gonna do for the music video. So then I call Maria, and then I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking this and this and this. What do you think? She's like, okay, give me a second. And then she's like, 2 days later, she's like, okay, so I'm gonna tell this director, and like whatever. And then to start the process, then we have a meeting, we talk about it and stuff like that. So Lena, she was on our music video Pentamath. She was, I think, assisting the director, and to be honest, I didn't really know that she actually wanted to be a director, but I that's when I first met her, I think. And then the next day we shot live sessions, and she was directing those, and I really liked the way she directed us.
Yeah,
And then when she did a presentation on the video that we're shooting next week, uh, she just really understood what I wanted, and I was like, wow, okay. So Lena keeps like she's young, and she
Yeah.
she, she keeps impressing me, like with the way she really gets my vision. So first it's Maria,
Yeah.
because she's the one who puts it, on the camera, and she knows, like, okay, what you mean, we need the 8 millimeter. What you mean here, we need the red. What you need, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't know
Yeah.
any of that. But then, the director puts the story together, and tells me if we can make it happen and within a budget and stuff like that. So it's very cool. Like we have this little team, this little crew going on, and Marie also is very fair. So first she tries to get women to help women in the film industry, uh, but if not a woman, she really goes for, like, people who really want the job and who are really good, and stuff like that. So then we have this amazing crew of people who really want to work and really want to do something different, which is good,
Oh,
if
it's
that makes
fantastic. Yeah,
sense.
that,
So
that,
yeah.
that is excellent. When did you meet Maria, your director of photography? Maria Quintana?
Yes, you've done your job.
Mhm.
um, we met at a show at the Rainbow. Are you familiar with the Rainbow
I've
in
heard of the
Toronto?
Rainbow. Yeah, yeah. I had some
Oh,
relatives out in Los Angeles and places like that, along the West Coast. But yeah, I've got some. I've been out a few times.
okay.
It's wonderful.
So yeah, so if anyone knows the Rainbow is, I would say, is popular because it's on Sunset and because of Lemmy, really.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
not for being a great venue. It's not the best venue at all. And I was really surprised because Maria came and she's very shy, and she was just with her camera. She's like, I just came here to take some pictures. The next day, she sends me a bunch of pictures that she took of us, and she made this place or this show look so cool. It was a cool show, but she made it look like it was such a cool venue. And I was like, okay, you and I need to work together. And then we did
Yeah.
a photo shoot, and she did the same thing. Like when you're with her, basically, you never know what's actually on the screen. So she'll
Mm.
be like, "No, it's okay, just walk." And she has an accent. Sorry,
Sure.
just walk and don't worry about me. And then 2 seconds later, she's just click, 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 and then she shows you, and you're like, "How the fuck did you get that?" And she's just amazing. So she's so talented that, to me, it's less of a worry because I don't, you know that's what you need on your team. You can't worry about every single thing. It's impossible. So when I work with her, I know that I don't have to worry about anything, that it's going to look good. We have the same taste in, images, and I can just relax. She's got it. you know if she's happy with the shot, I know that it's going to be good. So
That's fantastic when you could just simply trust and not do any micromanaging. Everybody does their job. I think it comes out so much better. Everything does.
exactly.
Really. So what's the recording process like right now through the pandemic? Are you doing pieces, parts onto files, sending files, somebody's mixing everything together? Or are you guys playing live together at certain points now? Or you feel a little more comfortable doing that?
For this album, we just met for one weekend, and that's another thing. Like, I trust Coco to just learn the songs, and then I practice on my own, and then we just met and we were playing the songs for the first time that one weekend. We didn't have we were missing one part of the vocals that I had to send in, because it was no vaccine at the time, so we were all wearing masks and everything,
Ugh,
keeping a safe
yeah.
distance and stuff like that. So it was kind of weird, and we only had 2 days, and then I just sent in the last part of vocals, and then Jason was able to mix all of this together and made it sound really good. And then Jesse Cannon, who is the master, he does all the master for our songs. he's based in New York, and he just was able to just put everything together so that it sounds all square. But
So all of your material, the EPs, can we get those on CD form? Is it all just simply, is it all just download or both? Yeah, anything on vinyl yet?
we want to do vinyl, um, but that will depend on the budget a little bit. But yes, that would be great. We are doing CDs because in France they're still very much into CDs. So we're going to do that for Europe because we do have a distribution deal happening, so that's good. And then we're going to get a few sent over for the tours. Of, like if people still buy CDs, hopefully we'll have a few on hand. And they should, because our friend Angie, who does the artwork for us, she did an amazing digipack that looks very, very cool, and I'm really excited to share that.
Yeah, you have a lot of good artwork with every single that you do, somebody's designing a cover for that. I love the font and the things that they do to express that. You have some good artists there.
Thank you. Yeah, Angie, she's a good friend of mine. She's in Paris, and she same thing as Maria. We work really well together. I just tell her like, okay, I'm thinking about this and this and this, and then the next day she comes up like, do you like that? I'm like, yep, that's it. Thank you. So I love that little team that we have right now. It moves things a lot faster. It's really cool.
Another video that comes to my mind is Swallow That Pill. That looked like a lot of fun. You go to watch that video and it's there's a lot of like going into like those destruction rooms. Is that where that kind of thing was shot? It's like you're just destroying things left and right and have the masks on.
Yeah, yeah. For that one, so that one was shot by Erica Torres, and she's a friend of ours. And same thing. This was during the lockdown, so we couldn't do much. But luckily, this was open. And Coco had mentioned to me like months prior, like, hey, when everything reopens, like I found this break rooms, like we should try one day. I'm like, yeah, sure. So when we were deciding on releasing a music video for Swallow That Pill, I said, well, do you still want to go to that break room? She's like, yeah. I'm like, because I think that would be perfect, because this is about like breaking a cycle of a lifestyle, and it's about like frustration. So we can just be breaking shit for like 3 minutes. It will look cool, and it worked, I think.
The camera effects really add to this. You watch the video, a lot of speeding up and slowing down, and just
Yes,
that really works.
wow, you really that's very impressive. Yeah, that's really her thing, actually. That
Yeah.
move. Yeah.
As a video editor, which I am by trade, I notice a lot of those things, and I love the techniques, and I always want to like get into whatever is the newest and the most trendiest. Sometimes these effects don't really date as well. It kind of had it's like done in its own time. Like going way back into the '90s, they were into doing the strobe effect. That was very very big, and I watch some concert films now where they're doing, and I'm like, that was so '90s. They so love to do that, but it was so hot at that time. So, fonts and things like that, just like they have their time, and it moves on. In the way that this video is edited, there's a lot of blended imagery, and it just gives you that real raw grit again that's you've had in your other videos.
Nice. Wow.
It's really neat. Another great track, Numb Killer. How did that one come about?
That one, I rode in the back seat of my friend's car. We were headed to Ventura, and I was hearing on the radio. That's when the terrorist attack in Manchester at the Ariana Grande concert
Oh,
happened,
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Remember
so they
that.
were just like I was hearing the news, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it, and like I try not to listen to or read the news, because I think that instead of just reading and just moving on with my day, it just stays with me. too long,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
and
So hard.
that's what happened. So I was just like talking like thinking about it, and then I was thinking about, it's not that I wanted to put myself in his shoes because I could not, but I was just picturing like all those kids, and you've been to a show, and when someone is like watching, an artist that they love, there's like this joy, and I was just trying to think like how, no matter what, like, I don't know if it's, I guess it's a duty for them, I'm not sure, but like, how can you go through with that, around kids, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Like I was, so again, it's not like I can't put myself in their shoes. I can't, but it's just I was just trying to understand, not to sympathize, but just like, anyway. So that's what Numb Killer is about, and for the video, uh, well, it's funny because in Europe, like that video is pretty, people really enjoyed it, but here in the US, like, we had a little bit of both,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
people thought that it might be too gore, or because of the Statue of Liberty. But to me, it's like, well, yeah, but you should feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people were killed, like,
It's shocking. I mean,
it is shocking. It's terrorism.
yeah.
Yes, humanity being attacked. Like, so, that's that little shocking factor that we were
Yeah.
killed. Like, do we go for it or?
I mean, aren't they shocked in France? There was that horrific act at the Bataclan Theater.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was.
like, oh my God. I mean, like
Yeah,
you couldn't make that up. That is like your worst nightmare. And gosh, I mean, you're going out to have the time of your life, and it's just like a tragedy of that you can't even imagine just happened. It's like we haven't quite had that. I mean, we had 9/11 20 years ago here in the US, but people have short memories. That kind of thing could happen anywhere. And it's, yeah, I think sometimes in the US, it's like they either want to shut it off or, yeah, and just like sweep it up under the rug and not really think about these things. And it's just, we're so numb, and numb is the word. You definitely hit that on the nail with that.
yeah,
Just when you think it's gotten crazier, it just tops itself here. It's there's so much opportunity. We have the land of the free and everything like that, but wow, and people just don't want to look at the issues and the problems. It's really sad.
yeah, yeah. I think it's well put.
Absolutely. Garden of Chloe's. There's like an it's parentheses. What is the background behind that song?
Um, Gosh, as I'm talking about the songs, I feel like everything is so depressing. But this one is about this. Well, okay, my godmother has a daughter who committed suicide, and her
Mm.
name was Chloe,
Oh,
and and the reason why it's in parentheses is because when I was in high school, I also knew a Chloe who also committed suicide. So it's I used to not understand the act of committing suicide because I'm very optimistic, and I always believe that, if you give it enough time, you'll see, like, you might have a shitty day, but hey, tomorrow will be better. But
right.
that's me. That's because I think that I'm lucky enough to not feel depressed. But I also don't want to insult someone who has, you know, difficult times. And Chloe, my godmother's daughter, she has gone through a lot in her life, and when I heard the news, it only made sense. And for the first time, I knew that she was finally peaceful where she was at. And so that song is for her. It's called Garden of Chloe because she had a shop called Garden of Chloe.
Mm.
Uh, and But yeah, so that song is about that.
Wow, well, it's uplifting stuff here.
Sorry.
As you go into the future, are you going to stay with grunge? Are you interested in other genres? Did you like country and western a little bit?
I don't think I could write country, but I mean, I don't really think about the genre of the music I put out, to be honest. I think that's why it's hard to categorize us into like a punk or grunge or, type of band. I to me, it's all about the emotions and the feelings. Grunge 90s music is definitely in me because it's all I've ever listened to. So I think that's what comes naturally. Um, but if, like, for instance, the song "Hurt" is very slow. It's, to me, it was more like PJ Harvey kind of style.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, if a song comes out like punk rock or slow or more pop, like the one that's coming out in a few days, be it. To me, it's just about like the song itself and the emotions coming out and what's right for that message, not to fit in a category like, yes, we're two chicks who do punk rock, yeah, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It's great. It's great. And as far as like what you're releasing this year, what are the plans for the rest of 2021 and going into 2022 as far as recording goes? Do you plan to have another EP out before the year's out, or just wait until 2022?
So we have we have three more songs released that we will release until September. September we will release the LP, and then we have a few shows coming up. Whew, we haven't played shows in a while.
Yeah.
And I think after September, that's when I'm gonna probably start writing again, because we like to record at the end of the year so that we can release everything in 2022.
Yeah. Something in the new year. So, what are your next shows? Where are they going to be held? Your next shows? Are you out in California?
The very next one is in Texas for the Women's Motor Show, and then we have one in London, and then we might have one in south of France.
Oh, you're all over.
Yeah, yeah. Where I'm really hoping for the one in south of France too. So I'll send him that video and tell him, hey, man, book us. I'm already promoting it.
You're itching to get it back out and doing more traveling. Do you love traveling?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Although I've been rescuing dogs, so I don't have more dogs. Gosh, if people could take care of them.
I'm that way with cats over here. I swear, I got a cat farm here. It's like I'm bringing cats in here all the time now. Yeah, you just being an animal lover, that is kind of part of that. I think it goes when are you totally vegan or just vegetarian?
Vegetarian.
Yeah.
I'm French. I have to have my cheese.
I know. Love cheese. I gotta, as you get older, you kind of have to watch how much dairy you're taking in. It's just harder to digest. But
Uh,
oh, love it. Love it. How is that with people in France? Like, hey, I'm a vegetarian because it's hard to be a vegetarian and be in France.
I know, and you know what? The first time that I went back home and I was vegetarian, I thought I was going to have a hard time with my friends, especially because like it's always like saucisson and like stuff like that, like meats and stuff like that. And no, like no one gave me a hard time, so I was able to eat and not being judged for it, and it was
Very good.
yeah, so good.
Yeah, when I was in London, I was like, I think this was around the mad cow disease era. And I was like, I don't want to do any meat when I'm in London. I was like, they have wonderful vegetarian area in the Soho area where Paul McCartney had an office. It was just perfect. I'm glad he was there because he probably influenced all the vegetarian restaurants over there. So good. It was really, really good over there. Excellent. Well, I really appreciate your time. I had a lovely evening.
Thank you, you too.
Best wishes to you and good luck with your second COVID vaccine shot.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Have a